Okay. Welcome everybody to, this is kind of, it's not really great lighting, but we'll just wing it. So welcome to Master Your Life series. And today I wanted to share Leanne Dixon because I do believe that we have a problem going on in this country right now with kids and teenagers. And here's who better to bring in but a parenting coach. So Leanne, you can come up and take over and share who you are.
All right, thanks.
And help us.
This is such a nice group already, so this is going to be fun. I've got my timer here just so that I don't go over the time. Thank you for coming here because it's not easy to show up as a parent. And you know, we talked earlier before it even started the presentation about how we're surprised that maybe a lot of people aren't here tonight. It's hard. It's hard to show up in a space where you are willing to be a little bit vulnerable and say, I'm having problems. And people have a hard time feeling safe with that. So always a lot of grace in this space. And I, leave the judgment to the side. Nobody here is alone in what they're experiencing at home. Whatever it is, I promise you're normal. and I thank you and I applaud you for being here. So let's take a look at tonight. What we're going to do is very briefly, I'm going to talk about me and why I do this work with parents. So you get to know my background a little bit. And then we're going to do a visualization exercise just to help you focus on the relationship that you want with your teen. And then we're going to look at common obstacles to good communication because there's stuff working in the background of our minds, the way culture influences us in how we communicate and what our expectations are. So we're going to look at those. So we're going to look at the negatives and we're going to see how we can flip them over. Okay. And so in doing that, we're going to create new assumptions that will help us upgrade our language and refocus how we connect with our teens in a way that's positive, and we're going to talk about how we can build momentum from there. Okay? So experience has taught me that when there's a source of frustration or conflict inside of a relationship, like arguing or miscommunication all the time, then it's unlikely that anybody feels heard, valued, or respected. Everybody in that situation is typically being triggered, and we're reacting to each other. So there's not a real opportunity to talk and be heard. And I know that because I grew up in an environment like that. And there's a lot of yelling at my house. And it was exhausting. And looking back on that, I can look back on it with compassion now and with everything that I've learned and know that things can be different from that. And I can also look back on it and say, wow, nobody was really thriving, and it was affecting our mental wellness. It was affecting everybody's mental wellness to some point because we're not thriving, because we stay stuck in these patterns. So I'm really happy you're here tonight to take a look and see what else is possible. All right. About me, I'm a certified family coach. My background is in social work. Once upon a time, 100 years ago, I was facilitating parent groups. And I was also facilitating groups for first-time offenders, adult first-time offenders. And I worked with transient men labeled as hard to house, hard to handle. I never had a problem with those transient men, by the way. Other people did, but I didn't. My little brag fest. And I was a parole officer inside a medium security institution for men. And when I was there, I worked with male gang members. I worked with lifers. And it really hit me, and I understood fully that what these individuals needed was one person in their lives who believed in them, who heard them, who could be present to them, who could build them up. And if they had just that one person, the entire trajectory of their lives would have changed. Everything would have been different. And one experience really forever altered my view of the importance of parenting and how we show up for each other. So I was in my office one day and I had this inmate come in. I think he had gone to this other program, and on his way back to his cell, he stops in my office and he's like, yeah, he's French Canadian. Yeah, have you seen this? And he's carrying his poster. He had gotten from, like, he'd been at an elders program. Have you seen this? Have you read this? Do you know this? I'm like, no, what is it? And it's this poem. And he's reading the poem to me, and he starts to cry. This is a 50-year-old biker guy. He's reading the poem to me, and he starts to cry. And this is what he read. Children learn what they live, by Dorothy Lawnelt. If a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with shame, he learns to feel guilty. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. And if a child lives with encouragement, he learns confidence. If a child lives with praise, he learns to appreciate. And if a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith. And if a child lives with approval, he learns to like himself. And if a child lives with acceptance and friendship, he learns to find love in the world. Now, my memory of what happened after that, after he read that to me, is a little fuzzy because it's not every day that a 50-year-old biker walks into your office with his heart broken by simple truths. It's not rocket science, right? They're simple truths, but the truth is we don't know what we don't know. And we certainly don't know what we haven't experienced. So when we started, I suggested that we kind of like put all of our judgments up on the shelf. I'm going to remind you to do that again. Just love yourself entirely for where you are, and it's okay. It's okay. Where you are is okay. And leave all of that self-judgment behind, because tonight I just want to invite you to lean into the possibility. Be curious. Just be curious and lean into the possibility to see what else might happen. What else is possible? Okay. So the first thing I want to do is help you to visualize what you want in your relationship. So right now, where is the concern that you have in your relationship with your team today? What's your first concern, your biggest concern? And if you could transform that concern into a more joyful experience, then what would that look like? And I would invite you to write that down if you're comfortable. The reason I invite you to think about this is because it always helps to know where we're going. And we tend to take our relationships for granted. We're kind of like in it, we're doing work all the time, and we don't really stop to think about, hey, this isn't working. Where do I want to be instead? How do I want to be instead? How do I want to have this experience differently? And if you can make a plan, know where you're going, then it's easier to know if you're getting lost, right? If we don't know where we're going, then it's really easy to keep repeating the patterns that keep us stuck, because we have no way of measuring. And that's a second reason why we want to have a goal in mind, so that we can measure. Come in here tonight and you're like, hey, Leanne, I have this interesting idea. I might hate it, but maybe I'll try it. Okay, if I try it, then is it bringing me closer to what I just envisioned? Or is it keeping me stuck? Or is it bringing me further away? If it's keeping me stuck or further away, then I need to pivot and come up with another thing, because, hey, that goal you just wrote is important to you, right? So if you want to, if you feel comfortable, closing your eyes or just putting a soft focus on any one area, I would invite you to just take a few breaths and just breathe deeply a couple of times. Now I want you to envision your goal. And if one of the first thoughts that comes up in your mind right now is that, no way, that's impossible, I would invite you to just wrap that thought in a bubble and put it up on a shelf for now. You can get back to that later. Okay? But for right now, I want you to believe that that is entirely possible. And I want you to notice what it feels like in your body when you envision this new way of being together. How does your body feel? Do you feel the tension drop from your shoulders? Do you relax in your jaw? The knots in your stomach loosen up a little bit. Do your fists unclench? Can you see yourself laughing, smiling? Really sink into that feeling and notice how much lighter you feel. And just for this moment, imagine that it's possible. Okay, now again, I want you to claim that vision for yourself because it is absolutely a worthy goal. Go ahead and take another breath or two. When you're comfortable, go ahead and open your eyes. So as we're developing awareness around the goal, maybe just take a minute to write down how important that goal is to you on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is assumptions. Not because we necessarily hold all of these assumptions to be true, but culturally. Think of culture, right? Society as a whole. When I say teenager, society says, right? What else? What else does society say? When we say teenager, society says moody.
13-year-olds are the worst.
The worst.
Trouble.
They'll come back to you when they're 21.
Right? That's like a really great line that people tell each other. Oh, it gets easier when they get older. No, they just talk to you less.
Yeah.
Okay, what else you got?
I didn't think about it.
They do. They just talk to you less. That's all.
It is easier.
What else?
I said it is easier then. No.
Yeah. So, oh wait, I'm going in the wrong direction. Here are some words that people have come up with, right? Teens, lazy, attitude, disrespectful, moody, dangerous, distant, silent. They're abrasive, self-absorbed, they're entitled. I get that one a lot. They're entitled, they're unpredictable, impatient. They make bad choices. They're know-it-alls. And at the same time, they're insecure. And they have low self-esteem, and they're secretive, and they're reserved, and they're mean, and they're unmotivated and emotional.
Why would you ever want one?
And that sums it up.
Right?
Where's the alcohol?
Isn't that terrible? Like you're really making me see we set ourselves up for failure.
We really do set ourselves
That's
up
them up for failure.
completely. And it's accepted. This is societal, like this is a societal normal way of looking at teenagers. It's completely toxic. So if you believe your teen is lazy, right? Or all teens are lazy, then where's your head at when you're asking them to help out with chores already? You're already thinking they're lazy. They're not going to follow through. What's the point? I may as well do it myself. Or if you do actually ask, you're asking with an edge because there's a part of you that doesn't believe they're going to follow through. I had a day full of really good examples for tonight's presentation. All right. Yeah. Just so you know, you're not alone. It happens to everybody. So my son is homeschooled, and he just started in December. So he's still kind of working through math right now because he's leaving it for last. And he's stuck. So he sends his dad a text and says, hey, can you help me with this? And his dad responds, why don't I call you at lunch? And I see the text because it's a group text. And my son's not responding. Like, he's like right there and he's not letting his dad know. And he's having a Pop-Tart. and I'm going, hey, did you see the text your dad sent? And he was like, yeah, well, I'll get to him when I'm done eating. And I'm like, well, you know, he's taking time out of his lunch to do this for you. Oh, and as I'm saying this, I actually heard the voice in my head go, teens are so entitled. Like, I heard it. Like, they're so entitled. And then I stopped myself, right? Because you teach what you need to learn. And I'm like, wait a minute, do I really believe that? Like, no, I don't believe that. What do I really believe about this? Oh, you know what I really believe? I really believe that he doesn't understand how workday maps itself out. He doesn't understand what it's like to be an adult with responsibilities. He doesn't understand these things. So, hey, mom, here's a moment for you to teach and support your team. Right? Because that's what I really believe. But that thought, though, there it was. It just snuck in. Completely. It's just, wow. So we see how if even just a small part of us subscribes to any of this, it can really affect how we show up. Because if I had actually said out loud, teens are so entitled, right? Then what would that have done to our relationship?
The Walker is
Right, his walls would have gone up. I might have hurt his feelings. He wouldn't have even understood what I was talking about. So what do you mean? Like, why can't I just get to him later? Right, I just wanted my Pop-Tart. Like, relax, woman. Right, and then he would have given me an eye roll, and I would have like, right? Okay, so what if we were to take a different perspective? What if the general consensus of society was the opposite of those words? What if instead we chose to see teenagers as whole, capable, and worthy instead of broken, bad, and in need of being fixed? Then we would start using words like motivated, flexible, able to self-manage. They're joyful, dependable, good companions. They're connected, wise, communicative, insightful, honest, creative, curious, empathetic, helpful, generous, capable. They participate. They're welcoming, good listeners, and respectful.
Can I take a picture of that?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that list. I like that list, and I want to reread.
Yes, by all means. So what happens is that this is your foundation. If words like these become your foundation, then that teen you thought was lazy, right? If you believe all of this other stuff, then you can see more clearly where your teen is motivated. And you acknowledge that in them. Wow, you're so motivated. You have so much ambition in these areas. You're really committed, right? I see the joy that you have when you do this. You notice more. And as you let them know what you're noticing about them, that's good. Then guess what? They can lean in and they can hear you. And it helps create a different space for communication, a different energy around the communication that you have.
What if they don't take compliments?
They don't take compliments?
They go, ew,
Yeah, well, that's okay.
as long as you still.
Give them. And if the compliment is sincere, and we're going to talk about that, because I don't believe, and I don't know if you want this on video, but I don't believe in blowing sunshine of anybody's who ever. As a parent, you be sincere. You notice their qualities, and we'll talk about their qualities, so hold on to that question, okay? All right, so I want to show you something that I read on social media, just to really drive this point home. Have you seen this or some version of this on social media? I can't believe how many people love this, right? But for as long as I live, I will always be your parent first and your friend second. I will stop you, flip out on you, lecture you, drive you insane, be your worst nightmare, and hunt you down like a bloodhound when I have to. Because I love you, right? And when you understand that, I will know that you've become a responsible adult. You'll never find anyone else in your life who loves, prays, cares, and worries about you more than I do. And if you don't mutter under your breath, I hate you at least once in your life, I'm not
Wow.
doing my job properly.
Oh my gosh, I don't like that.
I don't like that either.
But
You
there
haven't
is
seen it?
something about our society. It thinks
Yeah.
that you should be stalking and
It's that
can't
trust.
trust them, so you better be totally no.
It's a
Yeah.
critical parent.
Right? And so all of this is really based on this model, this foundation, right? So if you believe all of these things about teenagers, then you can't help but want to stalk them and micromanage them and make them not like you. But at the end of the day, and think that you're doing your job, which is just sad. And I don't know who the original sources of this. But how many people do you know want to be loved that way? Is that a relationship?
And
Is
we
that
don't
any
wanna-
kind
We don't
of-
want to teach them that's a relationship.
Do you want to teach
Because
them,
then they
right?
will go looking for that kind of relationship in the future, so you're setting them up for that model.
Exactly. So how about we set them up for a different model of relationship and maybe change up the message, and this time have a message for parents. And the message I'm about to share with you is actually one that makes up the foundation of my work with parents. And I'm using it with permission from Diana Sterling, who is a parent as coach. She does the approach. I'm certified to teach that. And I think that you'll find it very different from what we just read. All right. If you respect me, mom and dad, I will hear you. If you listen to me, I will feel understood. If you understand me, I will feel appreciated. And if you appreciate me, I will know your support. If you support me, I will become responsible. And when I'm responsible, I will grow to be independent. And in my independence, I will respect you and I will love you all of my life. Thank you. I've shared this with parents, and that oftentimes it's not unusual for me to get a deer in headlight kind of look, and parents kind of going, "That's so simple. Why didn't I think of that?"
And it feels better.
It feels better. It feels it's a completely different energy, right? So you could see how you could take all of these, and she calls them desperate pleas, because this is what our teenagers are begging us to do. They're desperate to be understood and respected and listened to in all of these ways. And if you take this and build on all of these, then you're literally changing your relationship completely. It's a complete makeover. So the first way is respect. And I'm going to talk to you about respect because, as I mentioned, I deal with all of these through the course of an 8-week program. But tonight we're going to dive into respect. And because I like to turn things out on their heads, we're going to do that with respect. We're just going to flip it over because few people really understand what respect is. And we like to think that it's a top-down thing, right? I'm older, you respect me. I make more money, you respect me. I have more education, I have more letters behind my name. You better respect me.
I'm the parent.
I'm the parent, you respect me. I'm the grandparent. Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are all things that we grew up with. So what we're going to do is spin this over and say, "Hey, mom and dad," if anybody's recording, because we're recording, or maybe your dad. Mom, dad, how about we model respect? How about we treat our teens with respect just because of the virtue of their humanity? We assume that they deserve it. They deserve respect. I was talking to adult women today, and we were in a group, and one of them I'd taken my program last year, and she's like, "So I'm talking to my mom, Leanne, and she doesn't respect me. Like she doesn't respect me. She doesn't like, I'm like, well, maybe you need to get her to call me." But that isn't the nature of the relationship. The relationship is all about mom making her feel guilty, sort of like turning the tables and using shame and all that kind of thing. So, and there's very much an attitude out there is, if you want my respect, you better earn it, right? So if you're going to be sassy with me, buddy, I'll show you sass, right? And we up the ante every time we do it. No judgment, but we do. Every time we do it, we up the ante. So we really need to decide, is that who we want to be? And one of the best ways to sort of flip respect on its head is to have this consciousness of all of those ideas that we talked about, all of those words. Where are they in our subconscious? What do we really believe? What do we really subscribe to? And then think about how we express our encouragement to our kids based on that foundation. We're going to talk about pride. It'll make sense in a second. I see you rolling your eyes. and I get it because my delivery kind of sucked on that. So I'll own that. So
My face way more often than I'm thinking, but it certainly makes.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. So we're going to talk about pride versus respect, and it'll all come together, okay? Because there's a huge difference between the two. And a lot of parents, we want to encourage our kids, and we tell them how proud we are of them all the time. And what happens when we do that is we're encouraging our kids to confuse pride, I'm proud of you, with I love you. And if they're not hearing I'm proud of you after they do something, if that's the reward you've been giving every time they do something you like, I'm proud of you, right? And then you don't do it, then they're thinking you don't love them. It's a confusion. How many movies have you seen where there's these adults and it's full of drama? All they want is for their parents to say, I'm proud of you, right? It's a common theme. Watch Gordon Ramsay's and Hell Kitchen, and I watched some old series, and where parents, they've had a restaurant in the family for years, and the kids are working really hard, and all they want is for the dad or the mom to say, hey, you're a good chef, I'm proud of you. And it doesn't happen until Gordon comes in, saves the day, cleans the kitchen, and then the parents can finally go, one of them, because they finally can see their son or their daughter, and they say, I'm proud of you. And that makes everything worth it, because people confuse I'm proud of you with love. Love your children, tell them you love them. But what I'm suggesting is that rather than saying I'm proud of you, this is where we flip it. We use the word respect. So we upgrade our language from pride speak to respect speak. So I am so proud of you for being at tonight's presentation. I'm so proud of you, right? Or I can say, hey, you know what? I really respect how committed you are to your families and how you want to heal and honor your relationship with your teens tonight. I'm really happy that you're here. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for your team. Feel the difference in that? So when we use the word proud of you, we're attaching it to an accomplishment, a behavior, an action, or a result. A result, by the way, that is very meaningful to me. It may not be a result that's all that meaningful to my team, but it makes me feel good on social media. My team, right? I am proud that they got into this college, or they're an honors student, or whatever that is. And teens know that. Teens know what we're up to. We just need to catch on to ourselves, okay? Because when we're saying I'm proud of you, who's that about? Who's that about? When we say, what's that?
It's about us, right?
It's about us. It's about us. So when we say I respect you, then we're looking at the qualities. We're looking at the qualities they bring. And when you look at somebody's qualities, those qualities don't change based on whether or not they succeed at any goal that they've set, right? Your qualities stay the same. So, right, they're not diluted by our outcomes. And we'll talk about that some more. So I've got more examples here. I've got a bunch written down. Let me see what I got. I'm so proud of you for being an honors student. How about we upgrade that to I respect how you organized your time and you kept going even when it was hard, right? So that you could achieve a goal that's important to you. See how different that is? You're recognizing qualities. I'm so happy for you. And you know what? You should be really proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself. I'm happy for you. I love you no matter what. Right? I'm so proud of you for being a great big brother. Well, how about I really appreciate and I respect the gentle manner in which you treat your siblings. Wait, I'm obviously dreaming in color. Then probably you had a moment where there was a gentle moment between them. Catch the gentle moment. Catch the gentle moment, right? And say, hey, I saw that. I really respect what you did there. That was so gentle and you were so generous with your time. Right? I really, really like how you did that. So you catch them when they're bringing out their qualities. You're on to their qualities. So that's where it's going to feel weird at first when you tell them stuff like that, but they start to believe you. Because it's not, I'm proud of you is so broad and it's kind of superficial, but this is the quality you brought forth. You have that quality in you and I see it. I see that quality in you. And then your kids start to believe it. Okay. Other examples, I respect your ability to organize information and present ideas. So if you have a kid who's always arguing with you and likes to debate, I really, right?
Yeah.
In a good moment.
His preschool teacher said she'd rather have a behavior issue than the person that could have a baby.
There you go. Right?
That wasn't
So
very kind.
it's not very kind.
Accepted as a positive.
No.
But
that child though, son or daughter?
son.
Son. You know, he has an ability to organize his ideas and present them. And, you know, and to have a strong point of view. And when you catch him, you know, it's to express those qualities that you appreciate and you see those qualities in them and you respect them. Right? Because most people don't. Most people think that's a big pain in the ass. Yeah.
So it doesn't go the way they want it to go.
Right. But then you also catch him in saying, hey, I really, really noticed how you took the time to listen. You know, you and I were just having a disagreement. And I felt like you heard me and you could hear my point of view. And I really respect that. Thank you. Sounds weird, right? But these conversations are possible and they can happen in your house. They just need practice. All right?
And patience.
Mostly with ourselves. Because there's a lot of self-hate going on, I can't do this, I'm really bad at this, I suck at this, or forget it, it's not gonna work. And so the group of women I was with today, this is my other example, worked with her last year. And she said to me, she's like, Leanne, you talked about respect. I didn't know, what the hell? I had no idea what you were talking about when we first started working together. And then she starts and she's all of a sudden the kid who would never ever talk to her and always made her feel stupid every time she opened her mouth, right? Starts to talk to her. He starts inviting his friends come over. He's like, Mom, my friends, maybe you want to meet them? You can stick around for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
She's like, what? And so today she tells me, she goes, so he's applying for colleges and he has to write these essays. And he sends me a text. He's like, hey, Mom, I have to give him my qualities. What do you think? But now he's used to the language. He knows she's got him, right? She goosebumps. So she's like, I've got this. She's like, right? She's like, I know it's your speed course, right? Yeah. She's like, we did this. She's like, I did this with Leanne in week 2. I've got everything written down in my book. I'm like, and so she was able to send it to him. She's like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe what happened between us. He knows I see him. He feels heard. He feels seen. He feels valued. And it's changed everything. So paying attention to how we talk and what we notice, it's nothing small. It's a big, big deal. Huge game changer. Okay. Yes. Everybody okay? This is hot in here. Or is it just me? I'm like, whoa. Okay.
It's toasty.
All right. So I had. I'm just moving
I'm
around a
warm
lot.
anyways, don't worry.
So had another mom who told me after the fact, she's like, I didn't expect much when I was asked to go home to my preteen and tell her that I respected her, and her preteen slammed doors all day long. Like she was always mad. There was a lot of slamming doors in her house. As the week progressed and I was more comfortable saying it, because we do have to acknowledge it's new. It's a new way of thinking. It's a new way of speaking, right? And as well as her becoming more comfortable hearing it, right? I noticed a change in her. Gone was a growling, glaring, eye-rolling individual, right? That I could not, and I couldn't believe that she and I went an entire week without their usual verbal battles, without any door slamming, right? So she was shocked about how well she responded. So again, just goes to show it's not a small thing that we just talked about. And if you're, and I'm looking at the time, I guess I'm doing pretty good with the time.
You're good.
I'm doing pretty good with time, so we'll have time for a few questions if you want. But yeah, I mean, if you're interested in going deeper into this message and doing some work over the course of about 9 weeks, you know, do you think that taking a deeper dive into all of these elements, into those desperate pleas, could that help improve your relationship with your teen? Can it help heal things? Can it transform your relationship? And if you think it can and you'd like to work with me, then I would be happy to work with you. Just let me know. It's an 8-week program. I'm offering it right now. I'm adding a week. So it's 9 weeks. It's regularly priced $1,500. And I'm letting you have it at $9.99. So 9 weeks, register by Friday, and we start next week. And we could get you going with real changes in your relationship.
Like he's part of that program?
No, just the parents. Just the parents. I work with you first because I think that the whole idea is if you can model this new language, new way of being, and and then you get to show up in your family and you teach it and you model it. And what happens is that what we're teaching them is how to be in a relationship, right? Once your teens understand that you respect them and you appreciate their qualities, they start to notice their own qualities. They'll make agreement with those qualities. They're going to make agreement. They're going to look for qualities in their friends. And they're going to look for people who can respect them because they will understand respect. They'll understand. After you do this for a while, that whole idea of respect becomes so reciprocal. Nobody wants to mess with it because it's the biggest gift you've ever been given in your life. Your teens won't want to mess with that. So after a while, and it doesn't happen right away, but you can eventually say you get to the point where you're having a disagreement and you could actually look at your teen and say, you know what, I'm not feeling respected right now. And they will hear that and they will course correct. And they course correct because through these weeks or through these months, they've been able to say to you, you know what, Mom, I don't feel respected right now. And you could hear that and go, okay, maybe I just need 5 minutes. Let's start over. Let's have a redo. And it's precious. So that's why I start with parents.
How does, if a kid has high anxiety, how does that play into all of this?
High anxiety? Well, we'd have to talk more about what that situation is really about, and what this program focuses on is the quality of relationship. So if you have a child or a teen who has anxiety, this won't necessarily, well, it could help with some of the relationship anxiety, right? Because you're giving them new skills as you're learning new skills. So it can help with that. But it's not, I'm not an anxiety coach. I can't help your kids with all of that stuff. Yeah. But certainly teaching them the value of relationship and how to be in that and give them a sense of who they are is a really big deal.
And I think too, so, I mean, I haven't worked with them. My kids are much older.
Back when my kids were teenagers, I did Carol Tuttle's. She's got an energy profiling system, and I did with my kids, and I think that's what got me started. My kids also kind of intuitively taught me that to not parent them with negative reinforcement, but positive reinforcement. And when you do that, our kids only want to be heard and respected. And when everything that she's talking about, their anxiety is going to relax because they're being heard, at least at home. If your kids are in school or, that level of anxiety.
Yeah, there are
It's
different
intense.
levels. It is intense. And when I say I grew up in a house where there was a lot of yelling, if my mom had come in and learned something different about how to speak and communicate with us, it would have taken the volume down on a whole bunch of anxiety, right? So there's that to think about too.
I believe it would help, because I think I've seen that in my younger son. It's the empathic ones, it's the ADD, it's the autism, it's the Asperger's. No matter what level, where they are in the spectrum, even I never wanted to label mine, but my younger one was, and he had a lot of anxiety. And doing things like this toned it down. Was one of the things that helped me.
Takes a village sometimes. But yeah, but do you have any questions about any of this? About the respect or language upgrade? So, did my examples make sense to you? Okay.
I guess what the biggest question that I have is, completely get it, I've tried it. What happens when you start to try something like that, and then they may come back and then set your frustration level up?
Yeah, everything is a process. So when you're working through all of this, there's not ever one way. There's not one quick fix. There's no magic going on. All of this takes practice. And guess what? We're all human, and there are going to be times, no matter how much you practice this, that your kid is going to go up and you're going to get triggered and you're going to do it wrong. But you know what? That's human. That's part of the path that we're on. But for as long as your kids know this, like when I was learning this, I had just been separated. I had sticky notes on my son's door, listen to understand. He was 9 at that point in time. He knew exactly what I was up to. And when I could go back to him and say, hey, you know what? I really messed that up. I really messed that up. I showed up and I lost it, and I'm sorry. Can we do a redo? Can we have a redo?
That's the most important part. It's our reconnect, and that in you showing them, we're all human, we all make mistakes, but we come back and we repair.
That's right.
And that's a show of respect.
It's huge respect. It's huge. So you're not the parent on a pedestal. You're coming down. No, but a lot of people, that whole respect, when it's from the top down, it's like, I'm the parent, and that's your problem if you're upset or whatever it is, right? But when you come down and you're like, hey, I really messed that up. I messed that up. I apologize all the time.
But what if when you do that and you do that course correction, but they're shut down? So my daughter, her walls go up, but she shuts down, and she will not have that dialect conversation. There's been times when I've gotten frustrated with her and I've gone up and I shouldn't have said that. I'm really sorry. I was feeling frustrated. I'm overwhelmed at this. We're trying to set the example of, okay, we're all going to lose it sometimes. This is why I lost it. It had nothing to do with you. And just whatever, I don't care.
Right. So
So you're doing the right things, but the response,
she's not ready to hear you.
is still.
Because she's not ready to hear you. So what you do is you're having a quiet moment, right? And things are going well. You're sharing a bowl of popcorn or something, right? You go, hey, you know what? I don't want to talk this to death, but what happened earlier, I'm really not proud of how I handled that. And I'd like to know how we could do that differently together next time. Do you have any ideas for me? Right? change the location, wait for her to come around, you're having a good time, and then you're not making excuses for what you did. You just,
You're asking for suggestions from their perspective.
how could I have done that differently so that we could have better heard each other? Right?
And they're gonna, sometimes they're, you know, get in your routine of how you do this thing back and forth, and it takes some time to, somebody just change that play, but I'm still doing my behavior, to see what we do, right? And then it takes a little bit to.
Right, and she's serious.
Yeah.
Like, wow, like, look at this, you know? So, yeah, it's really fun to see the changes, to see how you're suddenly having these miracle moments and these miracle conversations that you didn't think were possible before. And that's my wish for all of you tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody need a break? Bathroom break, or you want to just? Anybody? Good?
I can turn off.
So if you want to put on, did you want to type on?
Oh, I did have a title.
Yeah,
we can
go with that. Sure.
Oh, I saw my cooker. When I'm like, wow.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I have to tell you, do you all have one of these? You gotta get one. Because it is the total power play. I feel so powerful. But it's true.
I know, I'm watching you, like, I got one of
Do you
these.
just want to hold mine?
Yeah.
They are.
Thank you, Leon, that was awesome, awesome. So, hi, everybody. So I want everybody to just close your eyes for a second, take a deep breath, and imagine that everything in your life is going great. You've already healed your teenager relationships, and you love your children, and they communicate to you, and they come to you often for questions, and you're amazed at how wonderful your family has been together, that you always want to be together, and that everything in your life is going on. Your career is blossoming, money is showing up, your bank accounts are growing, all of your relationships are amazing. You even feel really good about your body and your health, and you have to pinch yourself because things are going so well. And then just like a snap of your fingers, everything comes to a halt. The relationships that were so good, all of a sudden aren't going so well. Your kids are fighting, the money stops showing up, all your relationships are just going in the wrong direction. And you wonder, what just happened? Why was everything going along so well, and now it's not? And so you can open your eyes and come back to the here and now. Things like that happen to amazing people, just like you all the time. And you're in the right place, because today I'm going to give you 3 tips of why that might be happening in your life. And so I want to thank you all for being here on the hottest day of the year, instead of by water or a nice pool with a margarita or something. And I promise to give you as much information as I can in the time we have. And I want to ask you for one condition, that even if you've heard some of the information that I'm sharing with you, do I have your commitment that you're going to look at it and hear it with different ears and eyes? Have your commitment? Great. So I'm Jacqueline Kane, best-selling author, master energy healer, and I help my clients do 3 things: liberate themselves from the past, live powerfully in the present moment, and love the life they get to live now. And so, boy, I wish I had a PowerPoint, because I can't, I'm going for the PowerPoint next time. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am. Some of you know me, but not everybody knows my whole story. So most people might think that because I have an easy nature, that it seems that things go well, that they don't think that I had a hard life or that I had any challenges. And they couldn't be further from the truth. When I was young, I was so shy to speak up So the fact that I'm standing here in front of you is like a really big deal. I was super scared to speak up. I analyzed everything I said before I said it, worried that I would say the wrong thing, get somebody in trouble, and I worried for days, even when I did speak up. Like, oh my God, what did I do? And so that programming and that conditioning and those patterns followed me into my marriage, which of course you can imagine didn't go well because there was a lot of resentment of how everybody else got to be themselves. And I was still just really hoping to be seen and heard on some level. And even things that I wanted to say, I heard other people say it, that somebody else said it. And I was like, oh my God, I said that. My marriage came to a place where it was just really hard and difficult. And I had to really work on understanding, getting to the root cause of why that was. So in that journey, I hired some coaches, and I learned that there were parts of me and beliefs and programming inside of me that just were working against me. And when I was able to transform all of that and help and heal the wounded parts of me, then things started really changing. And now I get to help my clients do that. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm excited to share these tips with you. So, Leanne, so much of what you talked about is what I help with my clients do. And it's so important, not just with teenager relationships, but with every relationship in your life, especially the relationship with yourself. So the very first tip that I feel is important for people to understand is start trusting again. And it's trusting your intuition. I'm sure everybody here knows what intuition is, right? Some of us very well. And I believe that everybody's intuitive, but we were taught at a young age not to believe it. We were taught that it was wrong, mostly because we shared things that our adult people around us at that time didn't know, and it made them feel uncomfortable. And they started to say, we started to realize that that was a bad thing, to share our intuition and what just came through. Why are you laughing, Amanda?
Just smirking, because
Share.
No.
This is interactive, so yeah, share.
I'm smirking because of our conversations, just.
Because you're intuitive, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just replaying my childhood, so that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we're told as a young child not to believe it, or that we did something wrong to embarrass somebody else or make somebody else feel uncomfortable, then we start not believing our intuition. We start shutting it down. And that's when there are beliefs inside of us that say there's something wrong with me, or that the battle goes on, that I'm not okay. And that sets us up for illness, disease, and everything going forward until we get back to that place where we start trusting ourselves, where we believe that everything that comes through us and our intuition is important. And it is. So the very first step in healing that part of yourself is to give yourself forgiveness. And it's a really big piece. So we can start that process today. So if everybody again wants to just close your eyes for a second. And I want you to tune into that younger you who knew things. They just came through her. And I want you to ask that younger you what she needs to forgive you. And allow whatever comes back to really honor that and respect what she says. Because your intuition will never say anything wrong about you. It will be loving and compassionate. And let this part of you know that you promise over the next week to tune into her. And to let her trust that you can expand more into your intuition. And then when you're ready, come back. And does anybody have any stories of when you were younger of how you were intuitive? In what ways were you intuitive? Did you see things, know things? Anybody?
I always just had that little voice in the back of my head that would tell me, hey, slow up, don't do this, That always looked out for me, protected me. And I learned at a very early age to just, if I listen to it, the right thing is going to happen.
Wow.
So just follow.
Yeah, it's awesome. And nobody ever like made you feel bad for that. And there was no,
I didn't really share it all that much,
you kept it to yourself.
but I still paid attention to it
It's important.
very much so.
Yeah. Anybody else? So step number 2 is you get to create it. We have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Many of them are negative, as Leanne showed us. Well, the way we think of teenagers, right? And when you put that up there, it was like, wow, not only are teenagers represented that way, but millennials are talked about that way. And it is a society thing, and we haven't stopped it. So it is really important to be aware of your thoughts, because we manifest things by our thoughts. So everything in your life right now, if it's going well, great. But no, if it's not, then you have the power to change it. For example, I want you to think of a really good, a celebrity or just somebody, an actor, an athlete who is probably at the top of their game. Can you think of somebody? A star, a celebrity. Look at Jennifer Lopez, right? Look where she is right now. She's on the top of her game. She just married Ben Affleck. Everything's going well. Do you think she had thoughts of, I can't do it, it's not going to go well, I shouldn't do that? Do you think she really has thoughts like that? Or do you think that she's whatever she has, maybe she thought about them in the past, but she worked on getting that to the positive affirmations and your thoughts and beliefs, right? Because she's come really far. Now I want you to think of somebody in your life who struggles a lot and is having a lot of challenges. When they think, what do you think their thoughts are consumed with? I can't do it. It's too hard. That will never happen for me. I only get things that don't work for me. I'm not the kind of person who is successful, right? So can you see how our thoughts manifest the life that we get? But the cool thing is that you get to create it. You're the important piece in that. So one thing going forward, it's important to be aware of your thoughts. Especially, I believe that our kids are empathic. And I remember when my young son was having a hard time, somehow he made me realize that if I wanted to have a conversation with him, I had to stop the negative chatter in my head. Because I felt that he was like in my head. I felt that he knew that my mind was over here thinking of everything else I had to do, was not focused on him. And he'd shut down and there would be no conversation. And I'd be like, oh my God, another ruined moment. Because that, as a parent, is not what we want. So I had to work hard at whenever I wanted to have a conversation with him, or especially when they came to me and they wanted to have a conversation, I had to make sure I was focused. I had to make sure that my mindset was on them. No negativity, nothing. Like I was just an open channel, and I really cared and loved in that moment. And I was present. And I know that's really hard when you have teenagers and you're working and you're worried about finances, and maybe it's right before dinner and that food's gonna burn, but your son or your child is right there and saying, Mom, I gotta share this with you, right? We've all been there. But the busier we are, the harder it is. So the more we can just understand the thoughts that we have, and every time that negative thought comes in, maybe you can have a journal, write that thought down, and then cross it out, say clear, cancel, delete. Huh? Janine? Yeah. We have a mutual friend who says that all the time. No, but somebody else said that to me. This was not Janine. And then come up with a positive affirmation, right? It works. You could, I even love the other one that says, and it really works when you start saying this and believing it. The other thing I say is, when things are not going my way, how does life get any better than this? And like almost immediately things start shifting because nothing's good or bad, right? It's just what is. And it's the energy that I put into it being negative or bad, or good. And the third step, which is my favorite, is generation connection. So I believe that nobody is authentically themselves because we've all inherited our ancestral energy. And so when we inherit all of our ancestral energy, the good, the bad, all of it, who are we? We're like them. We're created in their energy. So who are we? We're just an extension of them. Ancestral energy is the unresolved emotional issues of your ancestors, which means it impacts your physical pain, your emotional pain, your financial pain, and your relationships, and even your ability to stand in your power and stop being the people pleaser and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go over here and do this. I'm not going to follow the crowd because I don't feel that's right. I'm going to do this and be very comfortable in that without the guilt, without the shame, without the embarrassment. And it takes time to get there. So when you think of your ancestral, when you think of your family that you were raised in, was it happy? Was it sad? Was there frustration? Was there chaos? I know for me, I came from a very dysfunctional family. I mean, it was chaotic, it was manipulative, it was like, it was hard, really hard. And it took me a long time, it took me years and decades to realize that it wasn't me, that I just took that on. And that I had to do the work to say, no, that's them. And they can have that, but I really want to be over here. I want to raise my kids differently. I want to do all this. I want to create something completely different. So I had to be different and I had to release all of that. So when you think of your family, what comes up for you? Is there one emotion or energy that you would just use to describe your family? Anybody want to share?
It's interesting when you say that because I agree with you with the whole ancestral energy thing. Just thinking about growing up, it was very roller coastery. Like there was this really good sense of support and love, but also this sense of not good enough, not being able to be seen for who I truly was. So you have these two very opposite
Conflicting things.
And then when I look at how we interact as a family, I see hints of that here and there with the roller coaster of emotions with the team.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
very,
we pass it on without even realizing it. And it does, in effect, it impacts all of those areas. But first you have to see it and then see where it's ending up. Because sometimes I'll take clients through an ancestral clearing and their low back pain goes away or money shows up. So it's a very, very strong energy that we're not talking about, that people don't quite understand. And it's because we don't see it. Most people don't see energy. Some people do, but we can feel it, right? When you walk into a room that doesn't feel comfortable, you feel it in your gut, or you just have this feeling that today's either going to be a good day or it's going to be a bad day. So let's do a process.
It's interesting too, because when you get married, you have your own ancestral energy, and then you have your spouse's ancestral energy that then go into your two kids, which then, you take on the good, the bad, and the ugly with all of that.
It could be
too.
explosive
So,
too, because we attract.
and sometimes somebody's is much stronger
Mhm.
than somebody else's in certain areas, so.
And I believe that that's why we're only getting sicker as a society. I don't feel that we're getting healthier. It's 2022. There's more illnesses. There's more rare diseases that are showing up. More people are on medication, like probably 1 out of 2. Or, I don't think we're going in the right direction. There's more, and I know in Torrington, there's probably an urgent care center for every Dunkin' Donuts that's set up. How did this happen? How did we get here, right? And I feel that energy is like gaining momentum every generation that comes along, like all the grief, the shame, the embarrassment. Like I feel like it's this ball rolling down the hill, and if we don't clear it, then it's this big boulder by the time. And I feel that's why our kids are having such a hard time. I feel that's why they're so empathic. They feel that. And I've had some millennials say to me, why aren't you guys taking care of this? Why are you guys figuring this out? And I was like so impressed to hear that, like, wow, they're thinking about it. And they really want us to do something, but nobody's listening because we have all that society judgment that we can't get through that. So, okay, so we'll do an ancestral clearing. So when you think of your family, feel free to throw out an emotion that comes up for you. Like how would you describe it? The family that you grew up in. Who wants to go? What you got?
You keep on looking.
Because you're laughing.
Well, because we just we
We done
did a
some.
lot of this.
I know. But it's not something that it's a one and done.
Correct.
It's constant, especially because there's so much turmoil in the world, and everybody's attracting that energy.
I think one of the biggest things that growing up was some self-esteem stuff, because I always heard from my mother that she wasn't smart, or she couldn't do this, or she couldn't do that. And I would sit there going, but you can, you are amazing. But she couldn't see it.
Right.
So I know that happens.
So there was lack of confidence. Yeah. Okay. How about you?
It's interesting you said that, because I was going to go with victim,
Mm.
which is along kind of like that ancestral victimization. I'm not good enough. Bad things happen to me.
Gloom and doom. Yeah.
A lot of gloom and doom. A lot.
a
of gloom
lot.
and doom. Like,
Well, if we think of everything they went through,
yeah.
like, I mean, for example, my grandmother was in Sardinia, Italy during World War II. So her husband was away fighting the war while she had German soldiers, and she was taking care of her 3 kids. She wasn't going to speak it. She suppressed that fear.
Yeah, she just needed to get through the day.
Yeah.
The moment.
Yeah. Moment, days, weeks, months,
Yeah.
right? Years. So, and our parents who were in that took on all of that. So it's not surprising that it was so hard for them. So victim, confidence.
So I'm gonna go back a generation. I didn't feel it as much as a kid. I see it in my parents now,
Yes.
but I felt it a lot and heard a lot from my grandmother, which is lack and Great Depression.
Yeah.
So
And worry and fear. Yeah.
it's been hard coming up with a one word. I think victim hit a big one because I felt my mom, and there's good reason, like you
Yeah.
know the reason, you totally get the whole
Yeah.
picture, but victim,
Yeah,
but also like very controlling of emotions. You don't show emotions. That stuff. That's
that's a big one.
So I was the emotional one of the family.
So were you told, get over it, you're too
You're
sensitive?
tired.
Yeah.
You're just she'll be
Eat something.
Yeah. She needs some food, that's right.
okay. So, you know, I got that my feet like.
But that's not it. So was there a lot of, did people just explode? Because
No,
it was all
well,
pent up
no.
at times?
No, you didn't do that. You didn't, just didn't do it.
I didn't do it. So,
There was a
did-
lot of control. There was not chaos.
wow,
Here,
a lot
very
of suppression though.
Yes.
So do you have family members who have autoimmune issues? No, any health issues?
Direct, like within my family, like my father's already passed on, but
What did he pass on?
from
Okay.
dementia, from
Okay.
medication, seizure, so he had seizures. I
Okay.
don't know if that's part of it. And my mom's
Sure.
heart stuff.
Arthritis anyway?
Not been diagnosed, she does have, she has.
Wouldn't you think that there would be, I'm thinking there would be
I mean, I have
autoimmune
aches
and there would
pains,
be
so-
fibromyalgia?
I have aches and pains all over, so, yes, so it's probably comes through me, but not through.
And your grandparents, nobody? What nationality are you?
English, Irish, Scotch,
Got
Dutch,
it.
German,
Yep,
all those,
yep.
I'm a mix of all that.
I realize you were
Got it.
I am a much.
I just spent 2 weeks in Ireland, so yeah,
Yes, I went to Ireland.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. But
Okay.
you don't, no. You don't talk about it. You just keep going.
You get over it. We don't do conflict, my husband says. Con- I was gonna write a whole blog today in a post, like, again, why do we think conflict is so bad?
I know.
It's about learning to communicate, because otherwise, well, my in-laws, there was a lot of drinking going on, and then there's explosion, because it's all, that energy's gotta go somewhere. Okay, so I want everybody to close your eyes, put your feet on the floor, take 3 deep breaths, and bring that energy all the way down your body into your feet. When you're ready, I want you to repeat after me and say, and you can say this mentally, I, and state your name. Call back my energy from all the places I've left it. You're going to say that 2 more times. So I, and state your name. Call back my energy from all the places I left it. And let's repeat that one more time. And then I want you to focus in on this energy that you are describing your family. And I want you to tune into where in your body you feel it. And I want you to imagine pulling it outside of your body into a ball in front of your heart. And you can just nod to let me know when that is complete. Everybody good for the most part? And then I want you to bring your children into this visualization. And I want you to look into their eyes and say, I never wanted you to carry this. This was never yours to carry. It's time to pass this back. And as they say to you, we never wanted to carry this. It's not ours to carry. And it's time to pass this back. as they pull this same energy outside of their bodies and add it to your ball of energy. And again, let me know when that is complete by shaking your head. Okay, great. And now I want you to bring your parents into this visualization as you say to them, this was never mine to carry. It's time to pass this back. And as they say to you, we never wanted our child to carry this. It's time to pass this back. As they take this ball of energy from you, and I also want you to now bring in all of your ancestors as they line up behind your parents, as each one of them passes this ball of energy back from one generation to the next, all the way back through time to its very beginning. And you may sense it or know it or just feel that it's there. And allow it to go back as far as it can. And once it's at its very beginning, I want you to tune into this golden liquid light energy as it comes down from the heavens, and it transmutes that energy into its complete polar opposite of unconditional love, confidence, possibility, and ease, flow, and abundance. And allow this new energy to come down from one generation to the next. All the way down as it gets down to you. And allow this new energy to come down into your head, face, and neck. And down your arms. And down into your chest and your heart and your lungs. And down into your stomach and your abdomen. And down into your pelvic area. And down your thighs and your knees and your calves. And your ankles and feet. And down into your children. And then down deep into Mother Earth. And in this moment, visualize your life the way you would like to have it. Visualize your relationships, how easy they are. Visualize your careers and your businesses just taking off. And all the right people, places, and events showing up for you to have more fun. And just take a few deep breaths. And then when you're ready, come back to the here and now. How was that for everybody? Did everybody take it back, or was there any relatives that said, no, I'm not taking that? Good. And how does everybody feel in their body? Any difference?
I heard that in order for it to be completely gone, there was another level that we could talk to, but self-acceptance. Again, primarily grammar, which is contact.
Did you bring some of that in?
That's it. We'll have to do that.
You'll get the report. But just by doing this, what may seem like a very simple process, you've already shifted the energy of your relationships and what's possible for you and your family. So our goal this evening was to just give you insight into what's possible when we start respecting our teenagers, our kids, the people in our lives, the people who matter. And that ripple effect is priceless. Life just becomes so much easier when we're coming from that place. And the most important relationship is you, of how you treat yourself. Because when you start treating yourself really good, the kids will start seeing that. And they will believe that they deserve that too. So thank you all for coming. You guys have been an amazing audience. And if anybody wants information of how to work with me, we can talk about that. We'd love feedback on what you thought of the information, how we can improve it. And thank you so much for coming. Yeah. And if you have any questions or anything, we're both here.
Absolutely. You made it easy.
Very easy.
Yeah.
And no quicker.